Hey everyone, and welcome to another GameXplain discussion. I'm your host, Derek Bittner, and I'm joined today by Ash Paulson to discuss his visit to the San Francisco stop of the Nintendo Switch preview tour. So, you got the chance to play more of the Switch, Ash. What'd you think?
Hey, you know what? It's just more of a chance to try out. Really, what I try to do is focus on playing the games that I didn't really get a chance to play at the New York media event. Mm-hmm. So for me, that meant a lot of the smaller titles or indie titles like Snipperclips, which isn't indie, but it's, kind of a small eShop title, and then like Fast RMX and things like that. Mm-hmm. So I really wanted to get time with the kind of more alternative launch games coming with the Switch. And I had a great time. I have to really tip my hat to Nintendo for how well organized the event was. I went on one of the invite-only days, and it was almost like going to a theme park on a weekday, where it's still crowded. Like, there's still a lot of people, but like no crazy lines or waits or anything like that. Like, if you wanted to play something, chances are you wouldn't have to wait too long to do it, or you could just walk right up and play it. So that was really cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, unfortunately there was no branches like that around me. Like, I think the closest was New York, and that's not happening.
Right. I know. It's just it sucks that you're like located in the middle of like really none of this cool stuff happens around you.
Not really. Like, maybe stuff happens in Philly, and that's my best shot, but it doesn't happen too often. Like, Philly gets overlooked a lot. I think it's because New York is just bigger and closer in that case.
Right. It sucks because I often, it's become kind of a running unfortunate gag now, but I often forget that you still haven't played the Switch. You haven't even held one.
Nope.
And it's like it's almost common for me now, and it's definitely common for Andre because he has it.
Yeah.
Where it's like, so we're kind of more used to it, but you're like, I haven't even held one of these things yet. So I feel so bad that none of this cool stuff ever comes to your area.
We're very much less than a week away. Mine's pre-ordered. It's on its way. Yeah. Hopefully. It's going to get here the day of. I paid for that, so it should happen. But The funny thing is, we went you went to one of these tours again, even though, you tried it out before in New York. It's the same stuff that was there. And, of course, Andre has Zelda. So, yeah.
Right. Well, and I've got an invite to the Los Angeles stop of the preview tour next Saturday, which is stupid, though, because that's after launch.
Yeah.
So it's like, I could go. But, I mean, and maybe I'll go to capture footage of, like, Splatoon 2 and other things that aren't coming out for a little while. But, like, what's the point? Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess it's to get people who are on the fence to buy one, at launch anyway. But it's silly that LA is only getting it after the Switch actually launches.
Yeah, it really is. And
yeah.
Okay, then, but...
Yeah.
So the funny thing is, I don't think you even would have went to this if it hadn't been for the fact that you just happened to be in town for... another preview event, which we'll talk about later in the week. You can't discuss it yet, but
not quite. Yeah. But the embargo for that drops early next week, I believe. So it won't be too long before you guys get to find out what I was playing on Friday morning.
Yeah. So that was Friday morning, and then of course you went to the event. And what'd you go try out first?
So the very first thing I did actually was just capture a bunch of footage, which you're likely seeing right now. But the first thing I played, I believe, was Snipperclips, actually. I didn't get a chance to play Snipperclips in New York, and I kept hearing people love it and just being completely charmed by it. So I'm like, okay, let's do it. So I sat down with a Nintendo rep. They obviously it's a co-op game, and she kind of walked me through the point of the game, and it really is it's clever, it's charming. And it's so fun. I mean, you've got these cute little characters, and essentially the point of the game is to cut one another out so that you fit these shapes and that you can work together to fill these weirdly shaped outlines. Mm. And so it's very creative, and it has that Nintendo charm, and it's like the kind of cool little eShop game I think Nintendo needs to kind of fill out its launch lineup. And it really, I think people are going to sleep on it, and they shouldn't, because I was sleeping on it, and I admit that. Because I first saw it in New York, and I'm like, oh, what is this? It's, puzzle, not my thing, whatever, I'll check it out later. And yeah, it's true that puzzle games aren't my thing, and I'll admit that I was so bad at Snipperclips. Like, the Nintendo rep basically had to carry me, because she knew what she was doing, and I'm just not good at puzzle games. But... you know what? I'm getting it at launch now because I want to play it with my wife. Like, it is exactly the kind of game I would love playing with my wife. And I wasn't even going to get Snipperclips, and now I'm figuring that into my launch cost.
Yeah.
So it really is so clever.
And it's so smart to me that they're actually putting it out at launch. Like, there's that worry that it might get buried, but I don't think, you have sort of 1-2 Switch as that multiplayer game, but I also don't think it's going to be that big of a multiplayer appeal as much as Nintendo's hoping. I don't think there's as many people excited for 1-2 Switch. However, there does seem to be a general excitement for Snipperclips, especially as a co-op game, and I could see this being sort of a small hit, and I hope it is.
Yeah. Me too. I mean, it's only $20, I believe, so it's not like you're breaking the bank if you want to buy it. And honestly, I mean, it could be that the concept runs itself thin if the game's too long or whatever. But I don't think so. I mean, I only played, I want to say 3 or 4 levels, and even in the 4th level, they were already introducing new concepts that completely changed like the objective of what you're supposed to do. So I think it's going to be a surprise hit, to be honest. I don't know if it'll light the sales or the eShop sales charts on fire, but I think the people who give it a chance and actually get into it and download it are going to really like it. And I believe there's a demo actually launching on the eShop with the Switch as well. So you don't necessarily have to drop $20 on it if you're not completely sure.
Yeah, you can try it out and see for yourself. And was there any hint? I'm guessing they focus mainly on the multiplayer aspect, but they did say it is single player. And I wonder.
There was no hint of that.
Yeah, I was wondering exactly how they'll handle that because it seems so uniquely designed around co-op that I'm not quite sure how you would do it by yourself, and it likely is not anywhere near as exciting or fun, if it's not in co-op.
Yeah, I have to say, I don't think I'd want to play Snipperclips very much single player. That's not the kind of game I think would be very fun to play by yourself. I think it really succeeds on the strengths of its co-op play.
It definitely seems like that, and I'm excited for it. The funny thing is I don't have a lot of people to co-op with. Did they say if it's online? I'm guessing not.
They did not say. I also didn't ask, though. My guess is that no, it isn't.
Yeah, that'd be my guess, too. Although it is kind of cool that there is another mode that encourages 4-player play, so it's,
right.
This is it does seem like a fun multiplayer experience, and I think it's something people are more willing to sit down with than 1-2 Switch.
Yeah, I mean, if the full game is any indication of what I played at the event, then yeah, I mean, Snipperclips is going to be cool.
Nice. So what'd you get to play next?
I also played Fast RMX by Shinin Multimedia, or Shinin Games, and that is the spiritual sequel to the Wii U's Fast Racing Neo, which I actually reviewed. It's a very much a kind of a fusion between, I guess, F-Zero and Wipeout, very much a futuristic anti-gravity style racer. And Shinin is known for being, or I should say Shinin are known for being, really, I feel like the only other company besides Nintendo who seems to be able to make Nintendo hardware absolutely sing. This game, I mean, if you saw Fast Racing Neo, that game looked amazing on the Wii U. And Fast RMX looks even better on the Switch, and they've made improvements such as 4-player split screen is now going to be 1080p, 60 frames per second, no frame drops. Like there were, they had to, for the Wii U version, it was 30 frames to compensate for the lack of power there. But yeah, 4-player split screen, 60 frames per second. Even I feel like the graphical fidelity itself has been kind of ratcheted up a bit, so it's just a nicer, cleaner looking version of a game that already looked amazing. And it's coming with a bunch of new content. There are new tracks, new cars. Like, this is not just kind of like it's called Fast RMX, which reads like remix, but I feel like it's more than just a remix. Like, I feel like there's really a lot of new content here. So I'm super excited about that. I'm also getting that at launch now. Now that I know it's a launch title, I'm getting that at launch. I'm going to review it, but I'm super excited about that. And basically, everything I played of Fast RMX was great. It's basically Fast Racing Neo, but prettier and with more stuff. And actually, I will mention one improvement specifically that I noticed is that the power-ups you have to collect on the track to fill your boost meter are much easier to see now. Like, one of my complaints in my Fast Racing Neo review was that it was really hard to see these little power-ups, these little pickups for the rest of the track, because everything is just so bright and just like particle effects, and it's just crazy. Now, thankfully, they listened to that concern, and the boost pickups are much easier to see now.
That's awesome. It's great that they can really look at that and see what they can improve. From your time with the demo, obviously with demos it tends to be a little easier for everybody, but did it feel easier? I guess because you did say about the challenge.
Yeah, so here's what I did. I played a couple of races. They weren't doing single player. They were only doing head-to-head, like 2-player split screen. So I played with another person at the event, and we were playing basically like 2-player Grand Prix mode in Mario Kart, which means we were playing against the other CPUs as well. And I have to say, I finished first without too much of a crazy effort. It definitely felt a little easier than Fast Racing Neo. Now, there are so many factors that could go into that. Maybe there's a CPU difficulty option that was, set to the easiest setting or something like that. But I have to say, like, there was a little challenge there, but I finished first by a pretty handy margin, and that would never happen in Fast Racing Neo, like, ever. Unless I was, like, on the easiest track, on the easiest difficult, easiest cup. So, yeah, it was, it feels a little easier, but I want to stop short of saying that it definitely is, because I only played 2-player split screen. Like, the main Grand Prix mode might still be just nails hard. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's also really hard to say, because a lot of times with demo events like this, they don't want people to get frustrated. They want them to experience the game, so
exactly,
that's not going to be as difficult. So
right.
Hard to say on that end, but it sounds like some great improvements. I'm not sure if I'll get a chance to pick it up. I missed out on the original, and there's already so much to play at the launch.
I hear you.
Even barring Zelda. So
wait, and how weird is that? Like, when did that happen? First, we went from a disappointing launch with like Zelda, and that's it, kind of, to like Zelda and Shovel Knight and Fast RMX and Bomberman. Well, Bomberman was always launch, but like all these games now are like launch, and it's really exciting.
Yeah, it's crazy just how much it filled in, and
yeah.
I think there's enough games here that people can look at the launch lineup of Switch and the Switch launch lineup and think, okay, I'm going to pick up Zelda, Bomberman, and Shovel Knight, or Zelda, Shovel Knight, and Fast RMX, or Zelda 1-2 Switch and Snipperclips if you're going multiplayer. Zelda's always in that factor. Like, I can't imagine anybody not picking up Zelda on the Switch.
There are some of those people out there. I've been reading a few posts on the areas like GameFAQs and even GAF, who are just, and of course it's the minority opinion by far, but there are some people out there who are like, I don't care about Zelda, it does nothing for me, so I'm just gonna get like Snipperclips and Shovel Knight, and that's it. And I'm like, okay, that's cool, because those are going to be great games, obviously. But Zelda, man, how could you not be excited about Zelda? But hey, different strokes, different folks.
Exactly. All right, so what was next after Fast RMX?
Well, I didn't play it, but I did take a little time to stop and really try to study Super Bomberman R's frame rate, because a lot of impressions came out of the New York event, including my own, stating that Bomberman seemed to chug along at a 30 frames per second rate, and that it felt like a budget title to me. Like when I played it in New York, it just came off to me as a budget title and absolutely not a $50 game. And so seeing it here, it actually does seem to have been improved performance-wise. I don't want to call it 60 frames, but I do want to say it's 30 frames unlocked. So it seemed like things were a little smoother, but it was not as smooth as you would expect from a 60 frame per second game. So I think they are, at least, I guess, listening to some complaints and trying to improve performance before release, they being Konami. But I'm not convinced that it's a full 60 frames per second. And I've seen some people thinking that it is. So I can't say for sure, but I want to say that I don't think it is a full 60. So know that going in. Performance is better, but it still seems to not. I mean, this is the Switch. I just talked about Fast RMX, and this is Bomberman, right? I mean, this is not something that the Switch should have trouble running really smoothly, but it just doesn't seem like it's optimized,
Yeah. I'm going to be picking that up, hoping to review it myself. I've not played a lot of Bomberman games, but it doesn't really take a lot to understand Bomberman. And,
sure.
And
I mean, yeah. And at the end of the day, what matters is that Bomberman gameplay and that Bomberman vibe. And I have to say, I thought it captured that in New York, and I still think it does now. Like, I didn't play it yesterday, but I did watch a particularly heated match between two people who obviously knew what they were doing. And it was it was just really down to the wire, and it really kind of stoked that Bomberman fire in me. Like, oh yeah, this is why Bomberman's so fun. Like, it's been so long since we've had a new one, but there's nothing quite like a really close game of Bomberman that's right down to the wire. And so Bomberman R does seem to really capture that.
Yeah, and I do like the visual style, at least of the cutscenes and the sort of
me too
idea they're putting out. It's very thick lines. It's very cutesy.
Yeah.
It really fits that classic Bomberman idea. And
it looks great. Like art style wise, it looks exactly the way it should.
Yeah. And I love that about it. So I have high hopes for it. I really hope it turns out to be okay and worth that $50. It is a little concerning hearing your preview thoughts on it, but I'm going to give it a shot.
No, I mean, I think if performance and graphics don't matter to you, and they really probably shouldn't as much in a Bomberman game anyway, I mean, it does seem like the gameplay aspect has been nailed, and that, of course, is the most important part. So I would like to see it running more smoothly just because, I mean, obviously it could. But, yeah, if the game's fun, that's clearly what matters in the end.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right, well, next, after Bomberman?
Next is Ultra Street Fighter 2, which I actually played quite a bit of at New York, so I didn't sit down to play here, but I want to bring it up only because, once again, the game was only set up with Switch Pro controllers, and I want to point out that there's a reason for that, and I've touched on this before, but every time I've seen this game at a preview event, you can only play it with a Switch Pro controller. And to me, that's Nintendo's kind of low-key admission that Joy-Con are not good for 2D games. Excuse me. That Joy-Con are not good for 2D games. I've been saying that. Like, if you like 2D games, absolutely just figure in the cost of a Pro controller into your Switch launch price, because you do not want to play a game like Shovel Knight or Street Fighter eventually with Joy-Con. You just don't want to do it, trust me. So, and I think Nintendo knows that too, because, yeah, again, Street Fighter's only set up with Pro controllers, and it feels great with the Pro controller, but I would never want to play it with the Joy-Con, I can tell you that. And I think Nintendo knows people would feel that way. Yeah. So that's why I wanted to bring that up.
Okay. Yeah, I got nothing really more to add to that, so...
Yeah, I mean, it's still Street Fighter 2. It is, with, of course, it's Super Street Fighter 2 with 2 new characters. The HD art style, it looks like Super Street Fighter 2 HD Remix back on the 360. If you liked the way that looked, you're going to like the way this looks. If you didn't, you're probably not going to like how this looks either. So it's very much in that vein visually.
Play anything else?
Yeah, so I also finally played 1-2 Switch. I did. That was
really?
Like the
I didn't realize you hadn't actually
game.
played it.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to play it in New York, so that was like the big launch game. Well, I hesitate to say big, but like the main launch game that I hadn't gotten to play, so I definitely made sure to carve some time out to play that. And, I'll say this, I still don't think it's a $50 game. Like, it does not come off to me as a $50 game whatsoever. But it is a really cool proof of concept for stuff like HD Rumble and what the Joy-Cons can do. Or, sorry, the Joy-Con can do. So... my favorite was actually, at least from, maybe not from a gameplay standpoint, but from like a cool tech standpoint, was this game where you have to hold the Joy-Con flat in your hand, and you're basically guessing how many balls are rolling around in this box, meaning the Joy-Con. So you kind of, gently kind of move you're holding the Joy-Con horizontally, and you're moving your hand to kind of feel these marbles or whatever roll inside the Joy-Con. And God, it feels like there are marbles in there. It's really cool. And I'm like, I mean... 1-2 Switch as an overall concept, I feel like isn't going to last that long. I could see the games being a riot at parties, but for how long, I don't know. So the game itself, I don't know how long it's going to be that interesting. But in terms of HD Rumble, I have said this before, and I 120% stand by it. HD Rumble is super cool. It's the real deal. I love it, and I really, really want to see developers take advantage of it, because... And I know Andre's been saying he couldn't really feel the differences much, and he's not sold by it. And maybe not. It might be a person-by-person thing. But I am 100% sold on it.
Yeah, I hope it's as accurate as you say it is. And you're usually a pretty good gauge about that, and get an idea. And I think that is going to be 1-2 Switch's main selling point, is to just get a taste of what the HD Rumble really is all about. And it's potential. Like, the thing is, I look at 1-2 Switch as like, this is a total drinking game. Like, have the loser takes a shot or something like that, or takes a drink.
And I think at the right kind of house party, I think it would be an absolute riot. Like, I do think that there is a place for 1-2 Switch. I don't know that it's a $50 game, but I do see there being a place for it in the Switch's launch lineup. If you have a lot of house parties with friends who are gamers who are open to gaming, 1-2 Switch I think will be a great party game for that kind of crowd. I don't know if it would capture the hearts and the minds of like non-gamers necessarily, and I think that's what they're going for with this game. And I can't tell. Like, I mean, I've only played 4 out of the 20 plus games, so I can't form like a major encompassing opinion on 1-2 Switch yet. But the 4 games I played, they were fun and they were really cool technologically, but I can see them getting kind of stale very quickly. And I feel like that's probably going to be true of most of the games. Like, they're going to be really cool the first few times, and for the first few times you introduce them to new people, but they're not the kinds of things you're going to want to play over and over again.
Yeah, exactly. It's sort of like one of those board games you just bring out when you got new people around.
Yeah. Like, I don't think it's quite a $20 budget game. Like, I don't want to go that far, but I think the ideal price point would be somewhere around 30 or 40.
Or, ideally, what it should have been. And
or it would be a pack-in.
Yeah, pack-in. It'd be a perfect pack-in.
Yeah, I feel like instead of, if they had taken 1-2 Switch and made it like a pack-in with half the amount of games, or even less than half, like 8 games or whatever, instead of making it a $50 retail title with 20-plus games, I think that would have been better, because then you have this little mini-game collection that comes bundled with the system that shows you what all the cool things the Joy-Con can do without forcing you, or forcing that behind a $50 paywall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, It's one of those things. We'll see how it actually turns out. I'm probably going to try it out. Honestly, just to sort of show it off.
Yeah, like, it's definitely the kind of thing where I'm going to actively pursue, like, I know a couple of friends who are going to get it, and I'm going to actively pursue, hey, come over, bring it, and let's, like, have a night of playing it, because I want to play everything in 1-2 Switch. I'm just not convinced I want to spend $50 on it.
Yeah, this is something I can see, like, if I go to a family outing, like, around the holidays, bring over the Switch, bring 1-2 Switch, there you go.
Yeah.
Kind of perfect for those type of things. I can't see myself playing this with my friends, though. I just know them. They would not be into this type of thing.
I have certain friends who I think would, but mostly I agree with that. Like, it's going to take a very specific crowd, I think, to be into 1-2 Switch. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, but it's cool from a proof of concept standpoint.
Oh, totally. It's like showing off that HD rumble. That's the cool part about it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So, what else did you get to play?
That was mainly that was the stuff I spent the most time with. I did get to play a couple of rounds, or one and a half rounds of Splatoon 2, which, I mean, again, it's the Splatoon 2 special demo version. I have to make that clear. It isn't Splatoon 2. It's the special demo version of Splatoon 2. Yeah. So the embargo sheet they gave us when we arrived very specifically spelled that out. So I played a round and a half of that, but it was the same demo version that I played in New York. So I didn't really get a chance to gather any new impressions, really. I still don't like how Splatoon 2 feels on handheld mode on Switch. That is the only game I feel that way about. Mm-hmm. Generally, I love playing the Switch in handheld mode, but the way that you need to move the camera in Splatoon, and with the placement of the right stick on the Joy-Con R, you're more often knuckling it than anything, so you just kind of have to nudge the control stick with your knuckle as as your right thumb presses one of the face buttons, and it's just not... It doesn't give you the kind of control that you would like to have over the camera. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, it's just that placement of the right stick isn't perfectly conducive to Splatoon 2. And it doesn't need to be. That Splatoon 2 is just one game, but that is the only game that I have very strongly felt, oh man, I wouldn't want to play this on the go, really. I would really rather play this with the Switch Pro Controller or the Joy-Con Grip. Mm-hmm. It's not quite the thing. Well, actually, even the Joy-Con Grip, I don't know. I don't know if the weight distribution of the Joy-Con Grip is different such that the placement of the Joy-Con R would be okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I obviously can't say for sure on that one, but I can see where you're coming from on that. Did you try out a different weapon? Because I know the first time you played, you used the dual splatties.
I used the dualies again because they were still the only new weapon type in the demo, and I figured, well, everyone already knows how the other weapons play because they're in Splatoon 1, so I might as well just keep playing with the dualies. The
roller is slightly different in the fact.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, well, the major change is that if you use the roller, whenever you do a jumping attack, it's a big vertical ink rather than a horizontal one like it is if you're on the ground. Now, granted, you wouldn't know that, obviously, if you didn't know that it has anything different, so you wouldn't have probably noticed anyway. But I mean,
our fans know, like, you are the Splatoon guy, I'm the Smash guy, so I don't have quite the detailed knowledge on Splatoon that you do. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, the Splat dualies still feel nice, but I'm gonna get so much hell for this. You're probably watching the footage of me playing right now. I don't think I got a single kill. And, I mean, part of that was me running on adrenaline and having had no sleep. I was really tired. But part of that was just me not being good at Splatoon as well. And then I think another part of that was just me not really liking, again, that camera control in handheld mode just doesn't feel good to me. Mm. So things just weren't quite coming together for a lot of different reasons for me, but I still want to make it clear, Splatoon 2 is a lot of fun, and I wish I had gotten to play it again with the Pro Controller on TV mode than on handheld mode, because that's where I think the game really shines.
Yeah, and I think that's how most people are going to be playing it.
Yeah, honestly. I think so too.
I'm just, at least we don't have to wait long for everybody else to try it out with that test fire coming out.
Yeah, so. No, I'm really glad that's going to happen, so people can really kind of get a feel for it for themselves and see what I'm talking about with the handheld mode versus playing it on TV.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, Did you play anything else, or is that about cover it?
I did play one other thing, and that is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
Oh, okay.
And I got a little time with it. And, again, it's Mario Kart 8, but better with more stuff. But, I will say, I did watch a split-screen race on the big screen they had at the event. They had some people playing a split-screen race. And it really, if you have an eye for it, there is a noticeable difference, like a graphical improvement in the jump from 720p on Wii U to 1080p on Switch. It does look appreciably better. It doesn't make up for the fact that there are no new single-player tracks, but it does look better, and battle mode is still fun. I played a couple of rounds of battle mode. It feels like the legit battle mode that you remember from previous games in the series. Like, they really did it right. The Bomb Blast isn't as fun, I will say that. The Bomb Blast just feels a little more random and haphazard and kind of just throw as many bombs as you can in every direction and hope an explosion hits somebody. And it just feels like there's less strategy in the Bomb Blast than there is in traditional battle mode. Yeah. They didn't have Shine Runners playable, so I didn't get to try that. But yeah, regular battle mode, I said it before, I'll say it again, it feels right. They did it right. So if that is a big draw to you, then I believe that will justify the purchase of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. If battle mode means nothing to you, though, it's a bit harder of a sell, again, because there's no new single-player tracks. However, the graphical improvement is there if you have an eye for it. And, again, I'm going to go back to it, HD Rumble. It's awesome in this game. I love it.
How do they use the HD Rumble?
So it's things like, it's like really subtle things, like you'll feel a little like pop in your Joy-Con every time. That sounds so bad. Wow. So you'll feel a little pop in your Joy-Con when you're drifting and you get the sparks, like when you go from no sparks to red sparks to blue sparks, you'll feel a little rumble in your controller every time that happens. So you kind of have that, that kind of, you don't have to be only looking for the visual confirmation of sparks. You know that if you're focusing on something ahead of you or trying to avoid a banana peel or something, if you're paying attention and you feel for that rumble, you know when you've gotten the sparks, and you can just kind of use your intuition. It's kind of hard to explain because obviously you can still just watch for the sparks too, but I just feel like there's more of a tactile response and feedback from the game than you got from Mario Kart 8 on Wii U. It just feels like, it's so hard to explain this if you haven't felt it, but it just feels like you're feeling more of the road. You're feeling more feedback from the kart itself. I feel like there's just more information being conveyed to the player through Rumble than there was before. So it's just it really is something you have to feel for yourself, though, to know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I get an idea of what you're talking about, but you're right. In order to fully understand it, I would need to see it myself, or I guess feel it myself. But it's funny. I do think I am going to end up repurchasing Mario Kart 8. I wasn't sure at first, but then I was thinking, if we're going to be playing with friends or anything like that, I'm going to want to use the Switch version. So
exactly. I mean, I hate to agree with you on that, but I probably am. I mean, yeah. I think I found a way. Yeah, me too. And they haven't shut down the idea of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe exclusive DLC. Like and of course, usually when Nintendo says we have no comment on DLC at this time, it means they're going to do DLC if the sales are there. And it's Mario Kart 8. The sales are going to be there. So I would not be surprised to see some new tracks down the line.
Yeah, and that would make sense. Although it is a kind of a bummer, especially in our case, that we bought the DLC. Now we have to rebuy the game in order to be able to buy the new stuff that might be part of DLC. That's a bummer.
Oh, it's a total bummer, but you know what? I mean, I would be a hypocrite if I complain too much about it, because Smash is going to come eventually, and I'm going to buy that. No problem, full price. I have and that's probably just going to be the Wii U version with a few new things. So, I mean, but am I going to complain about that? No, because it's Smash. So, I can't complain too much. I'm doing it for Smash. I'm less happy to do it for Mario Kart, but I'll still do it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it sounds like you got a much clearer idea of the Switch this time around. Now that you're not...
Yeah, no, I think I really... Yeah, it wasn't as frenzied. It was a lot more relaxed, and I just kind of got to take my time. And again, most of my time was spent capturing footage for the discussion. But, I did get some good hands-on time, and I think I pretty much covered it all. I do want to apologize to those who follow me closely on Twitter, because most of what I just said has been regurgitated from Twitter, because those are my impressions.
Yeah.
So if you follow me on Twitter, you've probably seen this already, but hopefully you got a little more context for what I'm talking about in this discussion specifically.
Yeah, you used a little bit more than 140 characters through this discussion.
Just a bit, slightly, maybe just 280.
Maybe.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that pretty much covers everything. I'm trying to think of anything else. You guys will probably see a few goofy pictures I took. They had some props around that you could take pictures with, so I took a picture underneath a giant Mario hat with googly eyes for Super Mario Odyssey, and I took a picture, a few pictures actually, in a Mario Kart on Rainbow Road, and they're just goofy pictures, and I figured, you know what, normally I wouldn't do that, but the fans would probably like seeing me in these goofy props, so I did that, and that was fun.
Yeah, that sounds like it. So yeah, sounds like you had a good time, got a good idea, and pretty sure that pretty much covers it for our Switch preview discussions. So thank you for watching, and if you like this video, be sure to like us on Facebook and Twitter at GameXplain. And of course, stay tuned to GameXplain for more on the Switch and other things gaming as well. Till next time, bye.